I am an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, I'm Ricky, and I am an alcoholic.
I am an alcoholic.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. I am your alcoholic host. I am Raymond, and today I am joined with...
Hello, my name is Max, and I'm also an alcoholic. Happy to be here.
Yeah, maybe I should have just said Max. I always catch people with that every time, too. You're like, huh?
Oh, no, I was ready. You queued me up really well. You did your job as a host. You're doing great.
Oh. See, this is already off to a bad start.
I disagree. I think this is lovely.
Max, alcoholic. It's great to have you. Man, you've been around like day one when I started popping up in some of the rooms. You were actually hosting, doing service for one of the rooms I was going to, and and now I get to share other rooms with you, and now you're here with me, and you're quite an entertainer. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, sure. Well, my recovery date is August 13th, 2016. Certainly was not the first recovery date, but this is the one that stuck when I found Secular Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd kind of been bouncing in and out, dealing with a lot of terminal uniqueness, dealing with a lot of stuff, which I'm certain we'll get into as the conversation goes on. But I've stayed sober through all kinds of changes in my own life, relationships, jobs, presidential administrations, political upheavals and downheavals. All the everything that you might expect life to throw at you has been thrown at me so far, and it just keeps on coming, and I have kept on coming back. My day job, I'm a data engineer. I write code on my laptop. I'm very lucky to be able to do that. And then by night, as you said, I'm an entertainer. I do a lot of improv comedy. I do sketch comedy. I generally seek just about every opportunity I can to have people laugh and clap when I talk. So I've done a lot of training in that regard. And so I love being sober. I love the sound of my own voice, and I love being here because I get to do both of those things at once. So yeah, that's me. Yeah,
you do have quite the knack to make people laugh, and being an entertainer and stuff like that. I mean, what's that like? Being an entertainer, and were you an entertainer while you were drinking?
Hard to say. I think I'm here in Orlando, Florida, because my parents are entertainers. My mother and father actually met in a band and settled down here in Orlando, Florida, for the entertainment gigs. And so, my mother stayed at home and raised the kids, but my dad has worked consistently for Disney my entire life, pretty much. So I grew up with this sort of masculine role model of, a sing-along piano player who's able to like hold down a room full of people, get people jumping up and running around the room, performing stunts, doing all kinds of crazy stuff at his beck and call. So that's just kind of what I always had available to me as a possibility for my life, was just, being comfortable having a bunch of people pay attention to me. The way that has changed a hell of a lot over the years. I think I was praised a lot for being a smart kid. I was precocious. By that, I mean, I was like a 4-year-old who knew what the word precocious meant and knew that it referred to me. And I've spent a lot of time, making peace with that, working around all that. But the initial start that I had in this world of like, quote unquote, entertainment would be, infotainment stuff like TED Talks. I actually have a TED talk on YouTube around some research that I was into back when I was in grad school. And before that, I had done a whole lot of stuff with a group called Nerd Night, which is basically like TED Talks in a bar. And just saw every opportunity that I had to like get up in front of people and be like, "Hey, here are some brilliant ideas. Please affirm my identity as a smart person." Um, since getting sober, I have done a lot of work to take myself way less seriously. Um, which is hard because my animal brain kicks in and wants to look good and wants to survive and all that good stuff. But I got into improv to I thought I got into improv when I was sober because I thought I needed to fix the way that I was relating to people, relating to myself, and so I got into it as like a personal growth and development thing. And through that, I found a whole lot of liberation, a whole lot of play, a whole lot of just opportunities to just like get up on stage and look really stupid and have people love it. And then if a character sucks, you just get to throw it in the trash and move on. So it's a very great sort of like space of play that's gotten opened up there. I've thought like since I've gotten sober, haven't worked as hard to like try and get people to affirm my intelligence to me. I've just kind of like sought the opportunity to have fun. Practice Rule 62 in all of our affairs, trying to take my recovery seriously, but not taking myself too seriously along the way. Last thing I'll say is that like, it is kind of like a need for me. Like I do get kind of depressed if I don't have a performance or if I don't do it, like have like, a show at least once a month or something like that. I have an improv troupe. We do shows at a local coffee shop once a month. And if that doesn't happen, I get kind of bummed out. I think, I don't want to get too deep down that rabbit hole, but I do think a lot of what has made my recovery work so far has been just figuring out like, what does flourishing look like for me? What capacities do I need to express? I'm trying to find that balance between like boredom and burnout and, so, performance and like being zany or doing something fun has been, a crucial component of that. And so that's been a big part of what keeps me sober. Because a whole lot of shit keeps me sober, but I do a hell of a lot of a better job being in front of people whenever I'm not wasted. I'm completely shocked that I, didn't have any kind of like terrible things happen whenever I was getting wasted in front of a bunch of people. I am always amazed when I hear stories of like major rock stars, performers, getting loaded before shows. Cause, I'm glad to be there. I'm glad to be just 100% present with whatever the hell's going on and, maintaining some sense of control, even whenever there's a whole bunch of scary shit happening. So, that is just a key part of my recovery and a key part of what it means to be me. I think I will now cue it back to you.
Yeah.
I feel called, I don't know, we're in meetings so much. I feel called to just be like, and thanks for letting me share. And thanks for letting me, just like close every like time I open my mouth with like the usual sort of like AA bookends. And so it's interesting just being here in this conversation with you outside of a formal meeting space, even though we're here on Zoom right now.
Yeah. That's a great part of this. So not everyone's in AA, and that's one thing I got to wrap my head around doing this is because I'm trying to just collect as much data as I can to get out there to people, because everyone, regardless if it's AA or not, there's some little nugget or whatever you want to call it that someone can get from it. So
certainly.
Yeah, but I get it, because that's just funny. We're so used to these rooms, but then that makes me think about like how much I've applied AA just to general life instead of just not drinking, and it's mind baffling because my stop to AA was I'm gonna show up and
Yeah.
I'll do it a few times and I'll be done. But you see where we're at,
Oh,
where I'm at right now. So,
uh-huh. Oh yeah.
so, um, so you said, so you just recently that you just had some people call it birthday or soberversary.
Yeah.
What is that? 6 years?
7 years. Yeah.
7 years. Man, I'm not a mathematician or arithmetic
Close enough.
scientist.
Yeah.
So 7 years. I should know that. Shame on me, man.
Woof.
So what's the big difference from now and 7 years ago?
Dude, well, I mean, everything except being, being sober. Absolutely everything else has changed. Oh man, like it becomes increasingly difficult to summarize, just because more stuff keeps happening, more stuff keeps changing. I think, looking back, there's a lot. I'm kind of stuttering because I'm looking at there's no better way to put it than the promises that AA kind of talks about. The 9-step promises. If you practice these principles in all your affairs, these things will come true. I am stable and happy in a way that I like never could have imagined being possible back when I was actively drinking. I think, first thing I fear financial security has left me. I have a lot more money now that I'm not literally pissing it all away. I have become a much better person to collaborate with now that I'm not, trying to look good and avoid looking bad at all costs. When I got sober, I was a part-time plasma donor at that, which is not especially stable or lucrative as an endeavor. When I got sober, I basically learned how to code as best as I could and have sought to accumulate enough professional experience and expertise to have some kind of stability in my life. So that's one big thing. The other big thing I think has been when I got sober, I was like all the way I drank my way all the way out of grad school. And so I was just like living this weird kind of like shadow life where I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I'm supposed to do what a smart person is supposed to do, because that's kind of the only identity marker that I had was be smart. And I didn't know how to do that. I checked out grad school. I went into grad school for biotech because, I had an inspirational professor when I was younger who had a brain implant, Parkinson's, and I thought that was fascinating stuff. But I went to school for biotech and I did not like memorizing protein pathways and cascades and all of that. But I didn't really have an alternative. I didn't really have a safe way to say, hey, but I just don't know that I don't like this. My life was extremely performative. I had this very narrow range of what I perceived to be acceptable behaviors for myself. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't doing anything. I was just like holed up, spending the last of my savings, kind of supporting myself a little bit with plasma money here and there. But other than that, just spending the money on the cheapest alcohol I could get because I felt stuck. I felt like I had nothing available to me. And at the end, things got so bad that it was either, I didn't think that I wanted to die. I just didn't want the life that I had to go on anymore. And so, getting sober was that sort of like leap out of this old life into a new one, because it was either that or just fucking die, is what I thought was the option. But luckily I didn't do that. Luckily, I took the risk and came into secular AA. I'd love to talk more about like how I found that, but for now, what I have learned in the years since then is basically just showing me what all I can survive, including the things that I have my identity wrapped around. I've learned the hard way that it's not just about like literal physical death that scares me. What also scares me is like, the end of my life as I know it, the end of my identity, the end of who I know myself to be. A lot of time, I know myself to be this particular person because of, my job or because of my relationship or because of, wherever my place is in the human world. And I just get really attached to that. And I want to hold on to that identity because that's what life feels like to me. And over the course of 7 years, I have had all kinds of identities given to me and taken away. I have, entered jobs, lost jobs, gained friends, lost friends, entered relationships, exited relationships. And, that, that experience has piled up to show me that, that no matter what happens, there's recovery for me on the other side of it, which I think is kind of what has kept me going throughout all of this has been, a little bit of what you might call faith, a little bit of what you might call the idea that, this moment is fucking terrible. I have no idea what the fuck is going to happen or how I got here or, the future looks brutal, but no matter what happens, just keep going. Just do not abandon ship. Don't drink, don't fucking die. And, even when you really fucking want to. And so far, everything that I have perceived as terrible calamities, life ending, identity ending things has not actually killed me. And I have connected myself to like a broader identity beyond anything any of the particular things that I was attached to at any one given point in time, which is why I love going to meetings and saying, hi, I'm Max, I'm an alcoholic. Whenever I say I'm an alcoholic, that for me gives me an opportunity to partake in this group identity, which, group identity is a fraught topic. It can be both good and it can be bad. But for me, I find it to be good as applied in 12-step groups. Or even though I have even at the very beginning when my life was in the fucking toilet, I had this new identity ready. People are like, hey, here's this new way to understand yourself as someone who's in recovery, and someone who has like a future, someone who can endure these challenges, somebody who can deal with these things. I've had the opportunity to accept this group identity that there's no way I could have conjured as an individual. And so, like I said, over 7 years, everything has changed except for me going to meetings and saying, hi, I'm Max, I'm an alcoholic. And that's what gives me the strength to, keep going on. Even though there's always going to be challenges, there's always going to be, even whenever it's the ability to change my life is this thing that doesn't change, which is, my identity as an alcoholic, the presence of 12-step groups in my life, and all of that. Long story short, I'm just way less of an asshole now. I think it is a miracle to me that AA has existed and thrived for as long as it has, because everyone by definition has severe emotional and social problems. And so somehow we've all managed to get along and make each other a little bit better than we were the previous day. And so, I have, I wouldn't say that I had some sort of like sober lightning strike me off my horse and, have the truth be revealed to me. I would just say that there's been just a lot of opportunities to practice. And over time, I've gotten a lot better at just being better than I was. I'm really grateful to be where I'm at today. Really happy that I've made it this far. Because I didn't know that I would, I did not know how the hell I would make it to the end of the week without drinking before. And now, And now, yeah, I mostly feel very good. And for the main part, the only times I think about using alcohol are when I go to AA meetings and talk about it there. Yeah, that's kind of an arc through what things look like now, and some of the major themes of how they've changed over the past 7 years.
That's a pretty good summary. So yeah, that was a great summary, Max.
Yo.
I really like how you. I always like how you said your different identities, and
Yeah,
friends have come, friends have gone, relationships, and I always look at that, and I love how you summarize that because it was like, yeah, I've taken on different identities from all the different careers I've done, and because every different role I've had, I had to have a different way of doing things
yeah,
from being in the military, switching over to law enforcement, which that wasn't that big of a change in personality and stuff like that. But then like working at a post office and supervising people and stuff like that, you kind of can't have that other type of mentality. And
yeah,
then it's all these different sects of people with each group too, and it gives me another way to kind of sum it up my different identities.
yeah.
So I had something else on there. I get so sidetracked doing these because
Of course.
everyone brings so much to the table, and
Yeah.
I get knocked off track on that. Um, do 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 do. Let's hear a joke, Max, so I can think.
A joke. Oh my goodness, uh, that's the worst possible thing you could say to somebody in comedy. Like, all right, be funny now. Come on, be
Yeah,
funny
I know.
faster.
That's
I'm
like me
sick of
being
this. Yeah.
me being a
So,
podcast host.
all right, for all these duds. Yeah. Oh man, I took a stand-up comedy class during the pandemic, and but yeah, I was doing improv stuff, and it didn't translate that well to Zoom. So I was like, I'll take a stand-up comedy class, and I uh, I worked up like a whole routine, which I've kind of since mostly forgotten. It's irrelevant because my life's changed so much. But I decided I was going to do a whole bunch of recovery jokes, and so I decided my opening bit, I was going to walk out and then be like, "Hi everyone, I'm Max. I'm an alcoholic," and then like just act like I'm in an AA meeting, and then just like demand that, hold the microphone out to everybody, and then just be like, no, I can't. This just doesn't feel right. I got to have everyone say hi, Max, back to me, and so just like have this cute little audience push and pull, and just like establish a conversation that way. Um, and improv is all very sunny. Everyone there's silly and goofy. No one's trying to be dark and sexy. Or if they have, I haven't found it. That'd be fun. Dark, sexy improv. But yeah, my stand up is a much different thing. I went out, to the first and only time I ever did this. I went out in front of a crowd of people and I said, "Hi everyone, my name is Max. And I'm an alcoholic." And everyone's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, you are, woo!" And this is like, "Yeah, I'm drunk right now." And it's like, oh God, like that word alcoholic does not mean the same thing to me that it does to you. And I just found that you're gonna fucking hate this set. So I'm gonna talk about being sober for years and you're fucking wasted. All right. This is off to a bad start. And I have never done that again. I mean, I'm open to it. I just think I learned the hard way that, like I said, that identity means something a little bit different to me than it does to other people. Because for other people, I mean, I don't know. For a lot of people, getting wasted is cute, I guess, especially when you're young, like you see a little cat with catnip and you're like, oh, look at that cat. It's going nuts with that nip, like getting in there and going crazy. I think the same thing is kind of true whenever like college kids or something get into booze and they're like, oh, they love it. Look at them go. Yay. Oh, that's so sweet. And then at some point being wasted stops being cute. And some people just stop being drunk then. Like some people have that beautiful you sort of natural, like, all right, well, that was fun anyway, and just like, settle down and just, like, no, I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. And just naturally quit getting drunk. I never had that. So some people do that. And then there are also some people who still just like build their identity around drinking, but in like the opposite way that we do, where all they do is drink and slash or talk about being drunk. I live downtown in Orlando. There are clubs around. I still kind of just hear people drinking and talking about the last time they were drinking. And it's amazing to me. Amazing to me. I mean, not that I don't get it, but like I was, you open this by talking about me being like an entertainer. I was very much like a party of one guy. Like I was just like drinking by myself in my apartment, never, not even going out during the day, like, waking up as the sun was going down and then like, buying alcohol and then drinking all night till the sun came up. Like, do not talk to me. Do not talk to anybody. Cause I wanted to be in my own little world. So there are still people out there who exist, who exist in that space where they're kind of getting away with it for me. Like where they're like, getting drunk, not in a way that like gets them fired. It just in a way that gives them just, that they're unstable, boring to me, but they're not in a way that their life completely collapses. So anyways, I'm sitting here in judgment of my fellow humans. But I think that what the cash value of that for me is that like, you were talking about this, how you have found nuggets from everybody that you've had here. And it's not just people who are in AA, people who are in all kinds of walks of recovery. For me, the drinking my ass off by myself all the time and being a miserable, isolated piece of shit, that part sucked. But the recovery part has been the best thing that I've ever had happen to me. And it's something that I wish everybody could experience in some capacity. But, everyone has their own path, hence the title of your show. It pissed me off so bad to hear people introduce themselves in meetings as grateful, recovering alcoholic. And no, you're not. Your life sucks. Quit pretending. But I have had to do a lot of confronting for myself about like, why do I resist gratitude? Why do I not? Why am like given the opportunity to look at stuff that would make me happy? What is it within me that resists that? Why do I sigh and roll my eyes when people want to talk about gratitude at AA meetings or people talk about making gratitude lists? A lot of reasons that I've seen. A lot of it for me is that, I get attached. I get attached to my own like suffering in some weird sort of sense. It's stimulating. It's exciting. It feels significant to me. And I think that's been something that just kept me drunk for a long time, is just like having some weird part of me that just feels like bad stuff is more significant and important than good stuff in my life. Feeling like that's what defines my quality of more than good things. That's what defines my character. That's what defines all sorts of stuff. I want to be a significant person. I want to be, special. And if I don't feel like the good stuff in my life is special, then the bad stuff in my life sure as hell has got to be special. I had to have the most interesting and significant problems in the world, even when I'm a really, really comfortable person. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be kind of outside of that. I think, but now being funny on the spot is more just like, talking about where having something to respond to in another person or just where I've come from. It's less about memorizing knock jokes, but you have effectively illuminated a blind spot for me. So I'm going to memorize a couple dozen knock jokes, and we can have those in the can next time we convene. But Yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about that. I don't know if you've recovered your original thought, if you have something else you'd like to point to, but yeah, I'm spraying stuff all over the place, so I can definitely see why someone would get disoriented here.
That's the beauty of it, though, and
Yeah,
that's why I enjoy it because it gives me ways to process thing, and someone could be on one thought pattern, it takes them to another one, and
yeah,
you hit so many points about gratitude and stuff like that.
yeah.
Gratitude list was something to just to keep me busy and stuff like
Mm,
that at the beginning of recovery. But no, the other thought was is you brought up until you found a secular AA,
yeah,
but you also mentioned like you know the promises and stuff like that. And
yeah,
what I mean, coming to secular AA is that's where I ended up getting the biggest dose and getting things seriously. But my line of sight of AA in general has changed.
yeah.
Is that the same for you?
Of course, it's changed. I think a lot of my judgment and resentment of others has cooled down a lot as I've kind of come to peace and terms with my own shit, basically. Um, as far as like why I came into secular AA, I think that's worth expanding on a little bit. My parents moved here to Orlando for the gigs, and one of the gigs that they got, up the street was, my dad plays the piano and the organ for the local church, which has seen some pastors, including a pastor who uh, had some political beliefs that were distinct from my father's and which made their way into the children's sermon at the time. I don't remember all of the vivid details, but for me, what I remember was that it was around it was around 9/11. It was around the time of a lot of uh, clash of civilizations panic, a time of a lot of militancy, and so I recall this church, this pastor and his wife who was doing the children's sermon being militant and confrontational with Muslims in a way that my dad did not agree with. And so one time during a children's sermon, my dad got pissed and stood up from behind the piano and was like, that's it. I don't want my kids listening to this. Kids, go home. And my sister and I have a little sister. We left church and walked back to the house. And that was the first time that the authority figures in my life had been out of alignment. Up till then, pastor, parents, teachers, everyone had been kind of out to create the same thing for me. Here's what's good. Here's what's important. Here's what you do. But this was the first time that I had a dissonance between authority figures, and I kind of had to make up my own mind there. And so, being a little smarty pants that I am, I veered as far away from Christianity as I could get. After 9/11, there was also the new atheist intellectual movement, which kind of popped up as it was a response to the 9/11 attacks. It was a response to the presidency of George W. Bush. And so it just seemed like, like faith-based Christians over here versus faith-based Muslims over there. And so there was this, sort of reaction to that in a way that there hasn't been a demand for since. But anyway, yeah, I went to college and I got, this was the first time that I had like gotten involved in an intellectual movement. And that which isn't to say that it was good or bad. It was just that it was my first time like encountering like, oh my God, these people have arguments. These people have like thought things through, and I provided some clarity for me on who the good guys were, the atheists, who the bad guys were, the religious fundamentalists, religious authority in general. And I got excited and inspired and thought that the point of my life is to defeat religious ignorance because of the world is just soaked with it. And finally, all previous generations of humanity have suffered under delusion and error, but finally, for the first time, here I am ready to set everything straight. it was a very youthful and juvenile outlook, but it was certainly very animating. I'll say that to be just utterly convinced that I was right, everyone else was wrong, and it's up to me to bring the truth and the light to everybody. That, but that the edges of that sanded down over time, just as I encountered more people. I've never shed my identity as an atheist, but I'd say that, yeah, I have come to, encounter people who I would say have a religious outlook that I also find worthy of respect in some sense, which has changed things for me. It's changed, but I don't have that same sort of like, here are the good guys, here are the bad guys outlook on everything. Nevertheless, I definitely maintained a lot of that, like, identity or outlook on things when I started showing up to AA. I initially started coming into AA because I just wanted people to stop being mad at me. And I did not want to stop drinking. I just wanted to, sound sober or look like I was doing something about it. I don't think I was even self-conscious about that at the time. I was going to AA meetings and, thinking that everyone in this room was a fucking idiot except for me. Because, listen to them talk, prayers and dumb stuff. And man, no matter how bad my life as a drinker was, as long as I never became a member of AA, I was better than them. Like, that was just what I saw as the most important thing. So why was I going to AA meetings and just to see like, oh, thank God I'm not a sober alcoholic? That was stupid. I still had that for a long time. Like, but in the background, things are getting worse for me. My life is unraveling because I'm powerless and unmanageable and I was drinking, blah, blah, blah. And so things kept getting worse for me. And I started going to started going to meetings with a little bit more motivation. I wanted to try things out. And man, I heard the worst I don't know if it's bad in and of itself, but for me, the worst thing I ever heard in AA was fake it till you make it. Because I thought that gave me permission to go to meetings and lie. I said, you know what? Yeah, I'll just go and start making sober sounding noises. And then eventually the rest of this will catch up. And I did the same thing with all the prayers and stuff. I figured if I just, gave it a shot that maybe I would, come to believe or something. I didn't really think that, but I was starting to get desperate enough to the point that I was willing to try anything. I had a guy come up, approach me, like I was hanging out after a meeting and rinsing coffee cups and shit. And some guy just walked up and was just like, hey, you working with anybody? No, great. I'm your sponsor now. Lovely man. However, intensely religious. So we would meet up and go through the big book and he would be having me lead prayers in public. And I was just like, this is fucking stupid, but I'm going to fake it till I make it. And eventually I figured out that if I could lie about believing in God, then I could lie about not drinking too. And so that's kind of where I got off there. It was just like, you know what? Either I'm smarter than everybody here, or there is hope for you, but not for me. Either way, this shit just isn't working. And I just could not, not for lack of, I don't think, openness or willingness. It was just not for me. I just could not make the whole traditional religious stuff work. And then, luckily, the day that I finally made the actual decision to quit drinking again, Oh My God was having a meeting, a block and a half away in our mostly agnostic group of drunks here in Orlando, Florida. And so since then, I have just found the ability to talk about recovery without having to make reference to religious stuff to be an immense refreshment. I do still, like I've said.
Let me interrupt you right there.
Please do.
Now, in between that and finding oh my god, how long of a stretch was there in between the two?
Oh God, I was bouncing in and out of like religious AA for like a year and a half, 2 years at least. So this is a long. I mean, I don't know how you would call it long or short, but yeah, it was. It was a fair amount of time, and a fair amount of damage kind of got done in my life, just because, yeah, I thought that this solution had to be traditionally religious in nature. So yeah, that's why I found secular AA to be supremely important, just because, or at least just something different. AA emerged out of goofy American Protestantism, and so it's a challenging things to connect with people who might be outside of sort of that like mainstream American religious culture. And I'm really grateful for every opportunity that exists to connect it with new people, because yeah, I wouldn't be here if I thought that I had to do things quote unquote normal style. Because yeah, I don't want to sound terminally unique, but I'm an abnormal guy. Everybody's gonna say that though. I mean, it's yeah, I'm unique just like everybody else. But it's true. I think that to some extent, even though like I don't sort the world into good people and bad people based on religious affiliation, there's still just like some deep aspects that I can't really relate to unless I'm amongst people who get the world the way that I get it. I will say that I've sort of secularized a lot of religious stuff. I've secularized faith. I kind of pointed towards it earlier. I've secularized a lot of, sort of, well, I guess you might call it sin. For me, I call it shame. Just this perception that there's something wrong with me. And all of it for me comes down to that, what you would call, I guess, the metaphysics of human finitude. Whatever you believe about God or the absence of God, we are not it. We are not infinite in our capacities for knowledge, power, virtue, whatever. We're always going to be, fumbling and falling short. We'll always be able to do a little bit better, but we will never attain the ideal. And so, for me, that's what, when we talk about prayers and shit, that's what that evokes for me, is just like, a recognition of our finitude and an appeal beyond that finitude to whatever source of strength may exist beyond our finite individuality. Yes, like I said, the faith, the collective identity, there's no way in fucking hell I could have predicted 7 years of recovery plus. But at that point, I was worried about how I was going to get enough money to eat and deal with life and all of that stuff. But being able to come into AA has meant getting access to, the wisdom, experience, strength, and hope of other people that I would never have had access to, just as an individual, thinking that I had all the correct answers. And so, yeah, when people are talking about like faith and prayer and all of that stuff, that's what gets evoked for me. That said, I don't have like a direct encounter with that. I like when people are talking, like I'm sitting in a traditional meeting and people are talking about prayer, people are talking about their higher power, who they choose to call God, whatever. I can be with that now, but it takes a little bit of additional mental processing to connect myself with them, which is way better for me than where I was before, where previously I was like, well, these people are just stupid or different than me.
Oh my God, they're gonna hold hands. I gotta hold hands again. Oh.
No, not doing any of that. These people are unwashed, smell bad, filthy churchgoers. And so, no, there's a lot, just to take a quick detour into some of my favorite philosophical stuff. There's a lot more that we do with language than assert facts. Where, there's a lot more than just saying like, the grass is green, the sun is hot or something like that. I mean, that is one way that we use language, but we use language in a lot of other ways. When we say ouch or hey, look out, there's a car. What we're trying to do isn't just like assert or deny facts. We're expressing ourselves or like, connecting with people in a distinct way beyond like sharing some image in our heads or something like that. So that has helped me a lot when looking at religious language and religious stuff, is just like saying, oh, okay, these people are not like making a claim about the universe. They are expressing their finitude, expressing gratitude, just, trying to generate some sort of sense of openness. Is that literally true, what they're doing? I don't know. All I know is that for me, that's what helps me live with it. Because I think that, I love being in, alt AA, like alternative AA. And I also think that, mainstream AA is going to be around. Mainstream AA is going to be slow to change. Mainstream AA is not going to be in any hurry at all to, no longer, the conference approved literature is always going to include the big book, and it's always going to include chapter the agnostics, which sucks. That chapter grates me very hard. And just because, I thought it set a lot of like explicit expectations for me, in terms of what recovery would look like. I thought it had to look like believing in a traditional God. And it doesn't. It has not so far. Whatever a traditional person might assert about the necessity of believing in a God or not, I have gotten this far without it. I mean, I guess tomorrow calamity could ensue or something like that. But so far I've made it, and that has earned me my seat, I think. But at the end of the day, secular AA is my home and always will be, because that was where I just had got to be with people that I related to directly, without having to like do a bunch of mental gymnastics in order to help me see things differently. I am capable of that now. I'm capable of, gaining connection and wisdom from traditional AA, but I could never have gotten there without like actually finding people who spoke the same language as me, I suppose. So yeah, that's my response to that.
Oh, I don't know, you saw me laughing or not, but just going to the meetings and, just in that sense, fake it till you make it. I related so much, and this is like, I'm going to meetings just so I can still be bad, whatever. It was just, Was there in between going from there to oh my God, down there in Orlando? What was there more sense of a desperation when you found them?
Oh fuck yeah! Gift of desperation, baby. I like I said, I think I was either ready to die or ready for my current life to be over. Ready for a new identity. Like this whole identity that I had was kaput, and so that's what I was. Where I was at that point. I think about desperation a lot, because I think about how life used to be pretty bad, but not so bad that I got desperate to change it. Desperation to me was the actual like precondition for doing anything. I was like, as I said, I can get attached to problems. I can get attached to problems because they're predictable, because I know how to survive them. Like I knew, I've been in shitty relationships before that I have known were shitty, that I have not ended because, or not, not ended when I knew they were shitty, because some part of me was more afraid of the change of breaking up and the pain of breaking up than I was of the pain of staying in the relationship. I knew how to survive one more day in a shitty relationship. I did not know how to survive the pain and heartbreak of breaking up with somebody. And same thing with drinking. I knew how to survive one more shitty day of drinking. I did not know how to survive a lifetime of recovery. And so it is a weird thing to be attached to predictable misery. But I think that is just such a core engine of suffering across the board, is just because we get attached to what we know we can survive misery wise. And desperation for me was what it took for me to overload that. Like I don't know what the fuck a lifetime of recovery looks like, but I have to have it. I have to step into this unknown. I have to step away from this like one more shitty day cycle that I'm in, and make this big change, even though it is completely unpredictable and might even include misery beyond my comprehension. I have to take that risk. And so, yeah, that's what desperation means to me. That's just motivation. And so, it sucks to say, but when the way that I know when somebody is actually desperate is because they're actually changing their life. They're actually doing something different. And desperation is it's a ladder that you climb. That is it. You are desperate to the point of initiating change, and then it's gone. And so I know, like, I know that people can be sad. I know that people can be miserable. But at the end of the day, you know that you're desperate when you're actually taking action to change your life, to interrupt cycles, to do something new, even if it is completely unpredictable. And yeah, I think I'm very glad to have a program of like AA, secular AA, whatever you might call it, to have a place for that desperation to go, where people can be like, yeah, I know that things look terrible right now. Here's where that energy to change your life can be directed in a way that has like a structure, a program, if you want to call it that, something that might actually work for you, and rather than going nuts, like returning to a life of violent crime or some shit like that. Whatever might be like whatever else desperation might entail. I'm really grateful to have this program where I get to like actually change my life, and turn that desperation into something that has brought me here. And I think that at the end of the day, I think it's a very good gift, because on the other side of that, I also want to say that like that human urge to look good is so strong, and it still pops up. I still is a thing where like I want to look like I got all this shit under control. My life is good now. My life, blah blah blah. I was very lucky to have that gift of desperation where there was no chance in hell that I could even pretend to look good. Like I had to admit that I was powerless over alcohol, that my life had become unmanageable, and all this other stuff associated with that about how shitty things were. There was a lot of stuff that I did not want to feel that I drank my way out of, or tried to. And what got me sober was actually sharing those feelings with somebody else rather than trying to deal with them on my own through drinking. And to this day, that is the cornerstone of recovery, first and foremost. It's great to have 12 steps. It's great to have official sponsorship, everything else, all the formal aspects of AA. But at the end of the day, the foundation of my recovery is just telling somebody else what I don't want to feel right now. What do I think looks ugly? What do I think looks stupid? What do I think looks weak within me? And just opening up about that. Maybe it's nothing, maybe maybe today's good and I'm not dealing with anything that is, I don't need help anywhere. But at the end of the day, like all the shit that we do, work in the steps, service work, all that stuff is just busyness. If it's not actually connected to like the vulnerability and getting help dealing with stuff that you might not actually want to deal with. And so, yeah, that's what's there for me. That's the foundation, is just every day asking myself, what do I not want to feel, and talking to someone else about it. And that's what's brought me here so far. And I think I'll keep doing it.
Well, I hope you keep doing it, because like I said, you were there when I came in. You're still here. You're still helping. I get to hear you share. I get to hear more than what I normally have got to hear about you, and it's like just so relatable. So many things I could sit here and chuckle, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's like we all do the same thing. But then, we listen and we work, some people get hung up about sponsoring other people and stuff like that. But it's kind of like a point that I wanted to, lean on is like some people take offense when working with other people, but they're not desperate enough. They don't have that desperation that like I had or you had or our sponsor had this, that, and another. And it's just like, I'm not going to let myself get hung up on this because they weren't as desperate as us. And I'm just hanging on that today.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of that. I think, I'm really, really glad that I've gotten the opportunity to be a sponsor, because that has given me the opportunity to, take all of this shit and like turn it into something that's useful to another human being. Because when I came in, I was so full of like shame, this feeling that there's something wrong with me, this feeling like, I ruined my life. I couldn't do it. But working on stuff, has definitely helped me recover as an individual. Which, my individual life is now a hell of a lot better. But through AA, through the 12 steps, I'm able to add a new meaning to all the shit that I went through. In one sense, I'm not proud of all the drinking. I'm not proud of all the shit that I did when I was drinking. But in another sense, like, I am now able to relate to people in a way that I never would have been able to without it. I'm able to say, yeah, I know how you feel when someone comes into AA. My life looks pretty good now. And it did not look this good 7 years ago. And that is because of this program and because I actually have the opportunity to the facts of my life have not changed. The meaning I assigned to it has changed. The stuff that I thought made me an isolated, worthless person has actually turned out to be the stuff that has brought me the closest to people. And the stuff I've learned along the way has been the most valuable things that I have to share. It's less about like highfalutin intellectual shit as much as it's just like, how do I build a better life? How do I like who I am? What does it mean to be me, to be sober, to build a life that I don't want to, drink or drug my way away from? And that is something that I think is really one of the biggest, most valuable things is that 12th step. Because that is where I get to, as you said, the identity thing is a lot of our human identity is bound up in our relationships and who we agree that we are to each other. If you look at, Alexander the Great, if you cut him open and looked at his, genetic material or something, you wouldn't find anything that said the Great in there. We just call him the Great because everybody, agreed that he was this, extraordinary ruler or something like that. That is who he got to be because everyone agreed that he was. Same thing in recovery. When we work the 9th step, a lot of what we do there is take on a new identity by having a new conversation with people. Like people who knew us as like alcoholic fuck ups who ruined their fucking life now get to know us as someone else, or at least they get the opportunity to know us as someone else. We get to introduce ourselves as somebody who is here to clean things up and take responsibility for our actions. And so it's hard. It's hard to do that. That's why not the 9th step is the 9th step, because there's a lot of groundwork that goes into creating yourself as a new person like that. But it's all about that, the opportunity to have new kinds of relationships with people. And then the 12th step is where that, you get to know yourself as a source of the things that helped you. And that is what keeps me sober, is the opportunity to share like this. Obviously this is distinct from that, but the opportunity to know myself as like someone who can generate healing experiences rather than just consuming them. That is the gold for me. Working with other people, I get to see myself in what they share, see myself newly, see how far I've come relative to where things were starting out. Because I've been sober for 7 years. I don't think about my, day one life very much. I think about what life is like today. I think about how to just deal with life as it comes. It's not that I've like closed the door on the past or whatever. It's just that, the program has worked. I've moved on from all the dark, insane shit that I was soaked in for so long. And so it's really important for me to keep talking to new people and get to remember what it was like, pass on the shit that has helped me. I will never be able to repay the people who have sponsored me, in kind. The only way I can do is pay it forward and, give my sponsors the opportunity to know that they have passed this on. They have produced this, they have, continued this chain of recovery that extends way back beyond any of our lives and extends forward beyond as far as we can see. And to bring it back to what you said, I think, one of the things that I wish I had known that I could not have known at the beginning was how much of a gift it was to ask someone for help. To like, hey, I need your help. Whenever someone has asked me that, I'm like, absolutely, thank you. Because it has given me all of those things that I just shared about. The opportunity to know myself as a sober person, a source of recovery, all of that. But at the beginning, I thought I was a fuck up. I thought I was a burden. I thought that like asking for help was like, that was death for me. That was, to be who I was to be strong, self-sufficient, capable, all that stuff. And so to ask for help was just like, to be a parasite. You might as well just fucking die. But I'm glad I did it anyway. And I'm glad I opened up to learning stuff that I never would have had my mind open to. And glad I opened myself up to this new identity that I get to have as a sober person, and as a source of all of this stuff. So yeah, I too, Raymond, am very grateful that I had that sort of gift of desperation. And I'm glad it brought me here to us today.
I got 2 questions. How do you spell precocious?
Oh my goodness. Let's see if I can figure this out.
You're the one that used the word.
I spoke it. I don't know if I can write it. I'm not, listen, I don't know how to read. I'm a miracle. Okay. I just got this far by just guessing, and it's all just squiggles on the page, and the rest has just been God. So that's great.
I always got to find like a title for the episode. And I think I was going to call it the Precocious Max. And now I'm trying
the
to figure
illiterate circle.
Yeah. So I'll Google it or something. So, but like, I always like to ask this at the end of every episode is like,
yeah,
that person looking for it and they don't know where to go. What's Max say to that person? What do you think? What are your words to this person? Day one.
Oh man, what would I say to myself? I'm thinking now because I've had a couple of day ones as I kind of referenced. The person I was when I first started going to AA and the person I was when I decided to get sober would need to hear very different things. I think it's less about the actual words that are used to articulate this stuff, but what I wish to, wave my magic wand and convey is that sense of it's all going to be okay. In fact, everything is okay. It doesn't look like it, but everything that's in the way of feeling like everything is okay right now is going to get cleared up. It's not that something's wrong and you need to fix it. It's that everything's right. Everything is all right. And you just need to clean up anything that's in the way of you feeling that. The foundation is not something's missing. The foundation is everything is all right. And all we got to do is just clean up everything that's in the space of feeling connected to that. That is what I would like people to have, is just this, coming in and having this sensation of like, there is nothing wrong. I know it looks like it and feels like it, I know every part of you is screaming that, you know, this is doom. This is the end, but this is not. This is in many ways the beginning, but this in many ways is just coming home, I guess. Feeling like you have made it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing missing. Everything else is just going to come downstream of that. As far as that's what I wish I could convey in terms of that feeling, which is, I don't think I said it very succinctly.
You said it, dude. That hit me right in the heart, and I made my eyes well up. I think you said it perfectly.
Thank you.
You said it perfectly, man. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Perfect,
man. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time and doing this today.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I don't know if I'm saying things the right way, or should I be asking this question or that question. It just happens, and whatever's said, and it's here for the other people, and I think that was amazing. And I'm glad you've been a part of my recovery, man.
So right back at you. I'm really glad I got to come on. Like I said, I really enjoyed being here. I've really enjoyed you as a host, as a presence in my recovery, and as a presence in what you're creating here. Being able to create a platform to amplify people and to touch lives who might not otherwise have the opportunity to connect with this world that we're in. So yeah, you have been such a delightful presence, and you will continue to be such a delightful presence because you are a delightful human being, and it's really cool what you're up to. And it's really extra cool that you gave me the opportunity to be a part of it. So I'm really grateful, as we say. Oh no, I'm just so happy, just so connected to something beyond myself. Ugh, gross. No, thank you. This is amazing. Thank you for all the work you put into this. I'm really grateful to join the hollowed halls of esteemed guests that you've had who do not have this podcast. You've really created something that wouldn't exist without you. And so, yeah, you're a force of nature. You're a force of recovery. And I don't know how to quantify it, but the world is definitely better because you're in it and you're up to what you're up to. So, appreciate you being what you are, and appreciate you being such an amazing part of recovery, both in mine and just the broader world of recovery in general. You're an amazing presence, and I hope you keep it up.
Oh man, I only paid him $20 to say that, guys.
Offered him a discount. Yeah.
All right, man.